Hello dear friends. In this quick video, I want to share with you a personal experience that I had in the past few days, which can be helpful also for you to understand how things work, how you can use astrology and your transits in order to understand the processes that you are going through, and also which are the general topics that are triggered, and potentially work on those and overcome them or transform them. So what was happening in the past few days in my chart is that the transit in Mars was having an opposition with my natal sun. This is an aspect which happens once in every 2 years for every one of us, of course, in their own time. If you are a Capricorn, then Mars is having an opposition with your sun either recently or in the near future. And honestly, this isn't one of the really life-changing and most transformational and deepest transits because it lasts around 4 days. And yes, it's rare, it's once in 2 years, but it's not something that is, gonna shake you for months or even years. And yet, when you know where to look at and you observe and you try to analyze, you can actually make some important changes and transformations, even when the energy affects you just for a few days, like it happens with Mars transits. And this won't be a transit that would be equally important for everyone. For example, if Mars doesn't play a major role in your chart, those transits may not be so significant for you. But in my case, Mars is actually really important. It's in conjunction with my moon, which is the ruler of my ascendant, and it's on top of MC. So it's like the whole attention in the chart goes to this conjunction, which is on MC. And it really defines so many things in my life, in my character, in different qualities that I have. So when Mars is having this opposition with the sun, it triggers some natal topics, or in other words, those are topics that are generally relevant and important for me. I just want to remind you about one of the principles when we are doing predictions or trying to understand the transits. The transits can only trigger something that is already in your chart. It's already a theme in your chart. So potentially, if you are someone who, let's say, another example, doesn't like the attention, prefers to work on their own, prefers to stay behind, not in front of other people. Let's say Jupiter moving to your 10th house will not make you extremely popular. If you don't want to be popular, if you prefer to work behind the scenes, Jupiter will not force you to do that. So this is, again, a very important principle when it comes to transits and predictions, that all of the predictive methods, including the transits, they just trigger something that is already a theme in your natal chart. And back to my example, Mars is important in my chart, but also problematic because there are squares with Uranus, with Neptune. It's a whole mess. And when this transit triggered me for the past few days, I was able to face this in a very direct and in a way that could be transformative for me, because I was able to see some patterns which are actually stopping me, which are actually making things more difficult for me, and I wasn't able to see that before that. So here, of course, it would be great if you have a method for inner work, for transformation. My personal method for inner work is GSR. This is the method that allows you to transform the energies on the deepest level, and first of all to recognize what is going on, and then also to transform it. So in the past few days, I was doing such a session for myself. This is called taking yourself a symptom and working on it. And I was able to see so many of my Mars topics, but they got transformed in such a surprising way. Because, of course, one of the Mars themes is competition, impatience, rushing through things. And of course, Mars is also the planet of wars, battles, fights. So on certain level, this is my approach and my strategy in many ways, in many cases, to always feel like I need to be in a battle, to fight for something, to work hard for something, or to overcome obstacles, the hero mode that Mars really adores, or the warrior mode. This is like one of my life themes. And while I was experiencing this activated energy during the past few days, and while I was doing this session for myself, which was, happening in phases, so I didn't do it right away. It took me like maybe a day and a half or 2 days to really fix this energy. And I was able to see how actually when we are rushing, when we are very impulsive and impatient, instead of getting faster to where we want, actually we can slow down the process. I was able also to recognize my battle modes and how I can put this subconsciously aggressive energy in so many things that I'm doing. And it's in a very tricky way, because also in my case, this conjunction is in Pisces. And Pisces is a very gentle, very kind, very soft sign. So it's not openly so obvious and visible, but it's more like on an inner subconscious level. And when I was working on this, I was also having so many sensations in my head, and the head is also ruled by Mars. This part of the body is ruled by Mars, so there was so much tension into my head. And it was really amazing, not necessarily fun, but it was so worth it, honestly, because I was able to see my own life patterns. And yes, it doesn't happen in a soft way, because to have an opposition from Mars, it's not like, you can enjoy yourself and relax and things to happen in a smooth way. Chances are you will need to face with some kind of difficulties, that it may feel like you are having some kind of battle. But the realization I got was that actually I'm in a battle with myself, which is also not surprising. When Mars is connected to the Sun, you may realize that part of you is fighting against other part of yourself as well, or that you might be projecting things on the outer world, which again are your very own stuff too. So this is an example of how such a difficult transit can turn into something positive when, again, we are open for self-reflection. This is extremely important, and maybe even more for the oppositions. The opposition is such an aspect that requires a perspective. It's not necessarily always about taking action when you have some kind of difficult opposition. It's more important to notice or to focus on self-awareness. And when I was able to really see this in my work, to work on that, again, going through this transformative process, at the end of this, I feel like I can use my Mars energy in a much more constructive way. So those unnecessary battles, or this constant feeling that I'm, chasing my tail, or pursuing something, or rushing through something, it becomes unnecessary. It kind of like it's being dissolved. And it has a lot to do also with a condition that is also kind of typical for me. It's related to the ADHD, and how sometimes I can get so hyperactive that actually it exhausts me. So then I just need to get into the other phase and like let it go, or my energy needs to drop so I can recover. And again, this is so typical for Mars, especially if you have aspects between Mars and Uranus, or Mars and Pluto. You may have such hyperactive phases, or in some cases maniac phases. And the realization I got was also that, because I honestly really enjoy those hyperactive phases, I can do so many things and I can be so productive, and yet it feels like excitement. but the energy underneath that is like there is so much unsafety that you need to keep running and running, and it's exhaustive. And that's why at certain point the nervous system just needs to, switch into another mode. And this isn't a really sustainable state or strategy. I mean, yes, if you can go through those cyclic phases, like hyperactive, then things drop, then you are hyperactive again. But first of all, it's not healthy. Second of all, you are not as productive as you think you are, even though it feels like it, but it's not really the optimal productivity or effectiveness. If we are able to really manage our Mars energy in a more harmonious and balanced way, which means, again, to have a direction, to do something, but not in a warrior mode, not in a I'm fighting against the whole world, not in a self-aggressive or outer aggressive way, but instead just take action, take appropriate amount of risks, keep going, but follow a healthier rhythm, eventually we can achieve much more. So if you are also having some difficult Mars aspects, and every now and then we all have, so it's first of all not the end of the world. Second of all, it may show you how you connect or what's your relationship with this masculine active type of energy, and that applies to both men and women. And you may again notice that you have, for example, the tendency to either go into a full alert mode and exhaust yourself, or maybe for someone it may sound like being scared and hiding. But whatever the case is, it will represent something that is already within you and in your own chart. But when a transit triggers this for you, you have higher, better chances to work on this and to transform it. Because first of all, this energy is active, so you can't pretend it's not there. And second of all, it might become something important, and you may see the value of really improving this or fixing it or transforming it. And here, of course, the next question is how you can do that. My choice is, again, the GSR sessions, which are the deepest, most transformative technique, which allows you not just to get a temporary relief, but to become aware of what is the pattern, what is your strategy, why this happens to you, and then to change it once and for all. You might have another personal preferences, which is also totally fine. I personally also appreciate EFT as a technique. People use other psychotherapy methods or EMDR, or like there are so many variations. So whatever works for you is great. Just keep in mind that when you have transits, and especially the difficult transits, those are not just your times for suffering, but also the times when you can actually see things clearly and work on it and transform it. And again, I really like to remind this to people that actually the most significant achievements and results can happen when you have difficult transits or progressions or whatever method. So in those times, don't hide, don't try to just, wait for it to pass, but instead try to understand, like, what is this energy showing you, like, because it's always about you. It's not about Mars bringing something to me in a superficial way. This transit from Mars is just showing me something that is already inside of me. And that's always the case for every transit, every progression. So instead of being scared of different transits or progressions, we may use those to know what we can work on, because the timing is very important. Yes, you can always dig a theme that sounds like a nice to work on, and that may work fine many times. But when something is currently important or triggered, there is some kind of synchronicity. And usually those things are not random or coming out of nowhere. There is some kind of cosmic order or I don't know how to call this, plan maybe. So you can use your transits to understand, first of all, in what kind of process you are currently in, why this is happening, and what is activated from your natal chart. This is also a very important reminder. I constantly tell my clients and my students that everything starts with your birth chart. You can't make a good, proper prediction without considering first the natal chart. Because again, for someone, let's say Jupiter transiting their 10th house could be popularity and incredible success. For someone else, this could be just, for example, a promotion or change of status. And again, the most important is what is already in your natal chart, which in other words means what's already inside of you. Only this can be triggered. So I hope I have given you some ideas of how you can also look at your transits or progressions and understand them better. And not, most importantly, actually here is not to be scared. Because again, when we see, oh, opposition, oh, square, it can be scary sometimes, but it shouldn't be, because it's always actually an opportunity to grow, to change, to see something, to transform it. And if you happen to have also a method that works for you, please don't hesitate to use it. And of course, if you want to know more about my work, about the sessions that I'm doing, I combine astrology and GSR together. So we can look at your chart, we can analyze the process you're currently in, the important themes in your life, and also we can use GSR to transform those things so that you can use your resources in a more pure way, direct way, without the unnecessary distortions, battles, warrior modes, or victim modes, or whatever else we are using in our lives, which is also normal. But with this combination, astrology and GSR, you can really understand things. You can have like a good perspective about the process you're in, and then also do something about it, which is like a wow combination, and I really love it. Also, I want to invite you to our free Astrology and GSR Club. If you're not a member yet, you are welcome to join. All of the links will be under or somewhere around this video. So join our club. This is a community for people who are interested in astrology and personal development, and we will have regular free meetings and lots of practice and free analysis and many other amazing opportunities. So I hope you are inspired. You will use this in the best possible way for yourself, and I will see you very soon.